Most of my cross-examination pertains to your written direct testimony, and so I'll refer to it as such as we go along. But I just wanted to clarify that you mentioned that you're employed by the Office of Mauna Kea Management. How is the Office of Mauna Kea Management affiliated with the University of Hawaii at Hilo?
How they affiliated?
Yes.
The kuleana of OMKM is to manage the Mauna and protect the Mauna.
And so is the Office of Mauna Kea Management directly connected to the University of Hawaii at Hilo?
Yes, I believe.
Okay. Is the University of Hawaii Hilo the applicant for the Conservation District Use application for the TMT project?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned that your position there, that you're the Senior Advisor Cultural Officer. Is that correct?
Senior Advisor.
But you're not the Cultural Officer then?
No.
Okay. You mentioned that in 2013 you started work there. Do you know what month you started?
Old age. October, I think. I'm not sure.
Were you asked?
Wait. In that capacity as a senior advisor, I started that in 2013. Yeah.
Yes.
Prior to that was cultural advisor.
Okay, let's step back then.
Yes.
So initially you were hired as a cultural advisor.
Yes.
Do you
Initially.
Do you know what year and month that was?
I think that was June 12. 2012.
Can you clarify that again?
June 2012.
Okay.
I think around that time. And then a couple of months later, I got hired as changed position. Kauku Mauna wanted a manager, a culture manager, to fulfill the CMP, and we hired a culture manager to take care of all of Kauku Mauna's concerns and issues with the culture.
And when was that culture manager hired?
I'm not sure of the date, but it was recent. 2013.
And then who was hired in that particular position?
That was Lukela Rattles.
Okay. So I'm trying to clarify your position. So initially, just to clarify, initially you were hired as a culture advisor.
Yes.
Right. What was that role, your job and role in that particular position?
And again, trying to monitor the culture events on the mountain, whatever pertaining to culture.
Okay, and then following that, a couple months later, as stated, then you were hired as a senior advisor.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So what was the difference between a position as a cultural advisor and a a cultural advisor and a senior advisor?
Well, my understanding, Kauku Mauna wanted a manager, not an advisor. They wanted somebody with more authority to act on issues of culture. So that's when that came in. My background working with the union was more construction, working for Hilo Coast Processing. That was my forte when it comes to construction and renovating, improving facilities on the Summit region.
So then, as a senior advisor, who are you advising?
Office, OMKM, Board of Directors, and Stephanie Nagata.
And what are you advising them on?
Whatever issues arising to renovations or whatever permitting, ensuring that the construction is following the proper procedures on the best managing practices during their term of the contract or repairs or whatever they got to do.
Also, okay. So as a senior advisor, and I'm just trying to clarify this for the record, you're advising them on the construction aspects, no longer on the cultural aspects. Is that true?
To both sides, just listening and putting my manao into the discussion.
And what discussion? When we say
whatever
discussion,
come up with the board, whatever issues come out of Kauku Mauna.
Yeah, but if you're not the culture advisor,
they give recommendations to the board of directors, and they give recommendations to our office, and I help facilitate that recommendations and advice.
Okay, I might come back to that question just for clarification. Okay, so in your first position that you were hired there as a cultural advisor, who asked you to apply for that position?
Oh, they had, I'm not sure, I wasn't privy to all, but we had a couple, I think 3 or 4 applicants.
I mean, how did you hear about that particular position? Was somebody approached you to hire you for that particular position?
That was part of the need to improve the culture program on the summit. So I think it was posted.
But were you qualified to fulfill that position if you said your background was mostly in a union having to do with construction? What were your qualifications to be a cultural advisor?
Just raised in the old ways.
And from what age?
I think probably my first trip was 6.
Okay. And what did your trip consist of, going up to Mauna Kea at the age of 6?
Going up and explaining and learning, playing in the snow, learning about the genealogy.
And did you do cultural practices at the age of 6 with your family at that time?
Was more educational.
And when you say education, what is that?
Learning the different aspects of the family, the genealogy and the family ties to the mountain.
And at the time of age 6, did you consider your family as cultural practitioners?
Yeah.
Did they do hokupu at your visits?
Yes.
Okay. And did they go to particular places on Mauna Kea for cultural practices?
Poleahu, the pu'u poleahu.
And that was after or was it before that first observatory was there?
Just before and during the first telescopes on Poleahu.
Okay. So in your present position as a senior advisor, is this a full-time or part-time position?
Full-time.
How is your position funded?
I'm not sure of that.
Is it a state position?
I believe, or RCUH.
Okay, RCUH is funding your particular position.
Yes.
That's it. Okay, thank you. So please describe the details of the type of work you do for Office of Mauna Kea Management in this existing position as senior advisor.
Sorry, I'm not understand.
I'll repeat that. So can you please describe the details of the type of work you do for the Office of Mauna Kea Management in this position as senior advisor?
What I thought I said was monitoring the construction renovations and culture sites on the Mauna.
So does your job overlap then with the rangers as far as monitoring cultural sites?
This part, yes.
Does your job overlap? Oh, sorry. Was there any further response to that question?
No, I work with the rangers.
Okay. So how does the cultural manager work in the role with Mauna Kea Management, Office of Mauna Kea Management?
Policy, procedure, writing, and managing all of us workers for OMKM.
So does the cultural manager, does she do cultural monitoring of sites on Mauna Kea?
I do.
So you do
She does. She goes up. Yeah.
So I'm just trying to clarify. So you also do cultural monitoring of sites in your existing position as senior advisor. Is that true?
Any problems on a summit? Yes, I am up there.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Any problems?
Anything that pops up in regards to discussion, anything on a summit, whether it be cultural, natural resources, anything pertaining up on a summit, I am there.
And so you previously stated that Stephanie Nagata is your immediate supervisor?
Is my, yes.
And what is her title?
Excuse me, Chuck?
What is her title?
Director of Office of Mauna Kea Management.
Did you know Stephanie Nagata prior to being hired?
No.
Okay, so prior to the start of this contested case hearing, there was a site visit to the summit of Mauna Kea with the hearing officer, parties of this contested case, as well as other individuals. Did you attend this site visit in September of 2016?
Yes. We were the lead vehicles with Stephanie Nagata.
Who was driving?
She drove up, I drove down.
Okay. Did these vehicles go down to the proposed TMT site?
Yes.
And your vehicle was the lead vehicle, is that correct?
I believe we had rangers up there already, stationed up in the area, but on the convoy going up, yes, we were the lead.
And about how many vehicles following you?
Oh, I'm not sure, 6, maybe 5 or 6, I'm not sure.
Okay. Did
They
the
were
vehicle
behind us.
Yes, I understand. Okay. Did the vehicle stop at the proposed site so that the participants could get out and take a first-hand look at the site?
No, it was drive. I'm not sure if anybody behind us stopped. We just drove through, looked at the balloon, and exited.
And so why didn't the vehicle stop at the proposed site?
I'm not sure why. That was a plan. I wasn't driving that time.
And we say that was the plan. What do you mean that was the plan? What plan?
Go
was that?
visit the site. Had different areas we wanted to go look at. So I think the batch plant was one of the areas also.
Right. But isn't it fair to say that in order to really get a sense of the site, it would have been more appropriate for the participants to get out of the vehicles to take a look at the site?
Argumentative. Are you arguing with the witness, Mr. Flores?
I'm not arguing. I'm just I'll rephrase the question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, wouldn't it be fair to say that it would be easier, it would be more practical, sorry, I rephrase that. Wouldn't it be fair to say that it would be more appropriate to get out of the vehicle at the site to make appropriate observations?
Objections, calling for speculation on the part of this witness. He already said he wasn't in charge of the visit itself. He was merely riding on the way up.
I'm going to allow you to answer the question. Please answer the question.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that would be more appropriate, but we just was following orders.
Whose orders were you following?
I'm not sure if it was the Rangers or was our hearings officer, but they wanted to just spin around the site and go.
Were you aware that for participants who were in the vehicles that it was difficult to see the red balloon when you're in the vehicle at the site?
We were in the lead. I'm not sure what all the vehicles did when they went in, so we went just turned in and left. So I wasn't aware of any of what was happening behind.
And maybe I should set a foundation. Was there a red balloon set up at the site?
Yes.
And it was extended approximately 180 something feet high?
Yes.
On a cord, right?
Yes.
Okay. Office of Mauna Kea Management finalized the rules regarding the scattering of cremated human remains.
I don't think that is also finalized, but we did have discussions on.
And has the Office of Mauna Kea Management finalized any rules regarding the building of ahu or stacking of rocks?
Not finalized, but I know that the discussion was held.
So why haven't any of these rules been finalized if they're part of the comprehensive management plan, management actions?
One of the reasons is these contested cases been going on. That's one of the reasons I got when I started, that the process would have to include all of you too. So it's just not being able to attend because of this and because of the information in these meetings and the discussion. That's one of the problems we have, that we never did complete our rules yet, our administrative rules for the office.
So how does this contested case hearing affect the completion of the rules, which actually goes back to the Mauna Kea Management Plan, which goes back to 2010.
Participation.
And when you say participation, what do you mean by participation?
Attending meetings and participating fully.
So have you guys, as Office of Mauna Kea Management, since your employment there as a cultural advisor and senior advisor, had community meetings regarding this?
Yes, I believe we did go out
And how many
on the rules, making a couple only.
On a couple only.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Did you previously testify at the contested case hearing in 2011?
Yes.
Who approached you to testify for that contested case hearing?
I served in that hearing as a community leader with the union. From the Big Island Labor Alliance, we participated on job creations, and that was the initial reason why I got involved, was through the Labor Alliance, which consists of all private and public unions. We all signed up to support this project. So that's how I started with this project.
As through the union?
Through the union.
But not as a cultural practitioner?
No,
then?
not as.
So who approached you to be a witness in 2011?
Was UH, I'm not sure who was, Gerald or Gerald DeMello, probably. Because he was one of the liaisons with the labor unions for the UH.
And so why did they approach you in particular?
Because at the time I was the president of the Big Island Labor Alliance. So that was my role as a public-private union representative to try and secure some jobs.
Okay. And who approached you to testify in this contested case hearing?
Well, just continuation from the first. I just wearing one different hat.
And what's the different hat that you're wearing at this time?
Now I'm working at the office.
And the office, you refer to which office?
Office of Mauna Kea Management.
And just to clarify, you're an employee of the Office of Mauna Kea Management. That's
Yes.
correct? And that's the hat that you wear at this time?
At this time.
Thank you. Have you in addition to the contested case hearings, have you previously testified in support of the TMT project?
Numerous times, yes.
Do you know about how many times total that you testified?
Oh, I cannot say offhand.
Okay.
A couple times.
Who paid your trips to Honolulu to testify?
I think I paid on a couple of them. I think the office paid too.
And when you say the office, you mean the Office of Mauna Kea Management?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how many times the Office of Mauna Kea Management paid for your trips to Honolulu to testify?
Not sure.
Did you take leave from work to testify in Honolulu?
I believe I took vacation.
On all those trips?
Yes. Most of those trips, yes.
So when you say most of the trips, some you were still an
So I
employee.
can't remember the exact dates, but that's the different hats I wear. Sometimes I go under as one commissioner. Sometimes I go under as private citizen, depending when I'm in the area and depending what meetings is and where it's being held. Yes.
And then sometimes you go as an employee as Office of Mauna Kea
Yes.
Management. Is that true? And so you mentioned earlier in the previous cross that you were on the clock. What do you mean you're on the clock? Can you clarify it, please?
Getting paid today.
But getting paid by who?
Office of Mauna Kea.
Okay. And so all the time that you hear at this contested case hearing, are you with the hat and on the clock as Office of Mauna Kea Management?
Yes.
Okay. And any of the previous times you testified, were you compensated for testifying?
No.
Okay. Do you have any affiliation with the Hawaii Island Economic Development Board?
No affiliations.
And I wanted to clarify, what is your affiliation with the organization PUEO?
Well, the creation was when the presidents of the associations of Hawaiian homes wanted to create PUEL. So as the commissioner for East Hawaii, any entity or any issues arising with the they would come see me if that's feasible.
So you're not an officer of PUEO,
No,
and you're not a member.
no, just friends with them. I'm not a member officially.
Okay, but do you attend their meetings?
No.
Okay. If any new cultural resources, such as Ahu or Fauna Mauna Kea, are there any procedures that need to be followed?
Permitting procedures. My understanding, you should have a permit with DLNR.
Okay,
We
but-
follow DLNR rules.
But then who would do if it's a DNR rules, then who would do the DNR enforcement?
DLNR?
Which is who? Through who? Is correct to say that any enforcement for DNR rules would be DOCARE?
DOCARE.
So what would be the role of as you as a senior advisor in that if there was an Ahu found on Mauna Kea that was recently created?
Ascertain if that was permitted or not.
So if it wasn't permitted, then what would your role be then?
Then we would monitor the Ahus and find out who owns it. That was our main concern, is trying to find out who owns the Ahu.
And then once you find out who owns the Ahu, what would you do?
Notify that would be on violation.
A violation
No
of,
no permitted.
Yeah,
So-
but sorry, go ahead. Sorry to and cross over your and answer, but okay. So, but if you found out if there was an Ahu built and you found out supposedly who owns the Ahu, or in case who built the Ahu, then what would your next procedure be?
Two different sets. If it's permitted, then we would protect it. If it's not permitted, then we can take it down after 30 days. Any unpermitted structure can be removed after 30 days.
And that's based upon what rules?
DLNR rules.
Does it really say that in DNR rules that they can remove a structure within 30 days?
No, I don't think it's in the DLNR rules. It's just more our policy that we would remove whole couples in 14 days or 2 weeks, and unpermitted structures at least 30 days.
Okay, I'm going back to you saying that's your policy, but you just previously stated that you haven't finalized any policies or rules. So how can you act upon
Well,
it?
that's why you got Ahu's still up there, because we don't have any rules to remove it, and we're waiting for the legal proceedings and everything to conclude.
So in reality, at this point in time, if there was a Ahu that was built, and it was so-called unpermitted based upon your interpretation, that Office of Mauna Kea Management could not touch that Ahu. Is that correct?
No.
And so when you say no, what do you mean? So you mean that Office of Mauna Kea Management has the authority to touch that Ahu?
We can, after 30 days of up there unpermitted structures.
Yeah, but based upon what rules or on what rules are you basing that upon?
DLNR.
But you just told me earlier that DNR doesn't have those rules.
There's just the procedures in DLNR.
But you're not
Unpermitted structure.
But you're not part of DNR, right? Or are you part of DNR? DLNR, right?
We're not.
So if it was anything that was in violation of DLNR, would not DOCARE take care of those?
Yes.
And so Office of Mauna Kea Management would not take care of those.
Take
that
care
correct?
would be.
So
Permitted structures we would take care.
okay.
But make sure what we're concerned of is having a whole couples just being piled up and just stacked up, attracting bugs.
Right,
so we
but-
wanted to ensure that whoever owns the Ahu maintains the place.
But isn't that what the rules that Office of Mauna Kea Management hasn't finalized yet
Yes.
supposed to address?
Yes.
So until the rules are finalized by Office of Mauna Kea Management, then in reality, Office of Mauna Kea Management has no authority to act upon any of these items. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Have you ever handled any new cultural resources, such as Ahu on Mauna Kea?
Handle? No.
Have you ever moved, or
No.
have you ever dismantled
No.
any Ahu? Okay. Have you ever removed any hokupu or any items left on any Ahu on Mauna Kea?
No. Our rangers clean hokupus.
Even though they don't have any authority to do so. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, maintaining cleaning up and cleanliness on the summit.
Okay. Have you ever handled or any new cultural resources, such as upright stones on Mauna Kea?
Handled on, I don't know what you mean by handling, but I do observe uprights. Yes.
Have you ever moved any uprights?
Yes, I think I did one after 30 days by the tower, the old tower, 13 North.
When you say by the old tower on 13 North, what do you mean by the old tower?
Used to have one, my understanding used to have one antenna down at 13 North, and had one upright stone there, and I did take that down.
And were you authorized to take that stone down?
After 30 days, I took it down.
But that's based upon, is that based upon Office of Mauna Kea management rules, which are not finalized yet?
More was just mine.
So under your own personal authority, you determined that you should remove or dismantle an upright stone.
Upright.
So did you have a permit to move that stone?
No.
So in essence, you're in a violation of DNR rules then.
I don't know.
And when you move that particular stone or stones, and so let me go back to setting the foundation. So the stone you're referring to is, if you're saying, is on the northern end of the proposed TMT site. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have Kahuku Mauna advise you regarding the removal of that stone?
No.
Why did you not consult with Kahuku Mauna?
Because there was a new stone that just popped up. There was one stone standing up. That was the only one. That was new, though. That wasn't an old stone.
Yeah, but is it a new stone? Was it connected with a Native Hawaiian cultural practice?
Yes.
So isn't Native Hawaiian cultural practices protected on Mauna Kea?
Yes.
So you're removing a stone that's connected with a Native Hawaiian cultural practice, but you did not consult with Kahuku Mauna. Is that correct?
Yes.
Isn't Kahuku Mauna in place to address these kind of issues regarding Native Hawaiian cultural practices?
Yes.
And did you not serve on Kahuku Mauna previously?
A little while. Yes.
So you're familiar with the role of Kahuku Mauna?
Yes.
So being you're familiar with the role of Kahuku Mauna, then why did you not consult with Kahuku Mauna before you decided to move that stone?
No, just knocked that stone over. We're just up and down. That's all.
Just knocked it over, up and down. Okay, thank you. Do you understand that in your position as an employee of the Office of Mauna Kea Management, that you're entrusted to protect the cultural resources of Mauna Kea?
Yes.
Do you understand as an employee of the Office of Mauna Kea Management that you're entrusted to protect Native Hawaiian cultural practices on Mauna Kea?
Yes.
Okay, so just clarify that you have that understanding. Okay, I'm gonna make reference to, because it has your name in this document here, I'm gonna make reference to Exhibit B 02I, Archaeological Monitoring Report, Geotechnical Boring for the proposed 30-meter telescope in the astronomy precinct of Mauna Kea.
The identification again,
And the exhibit, once again, is B.02I.
and Mr. Louis Kwan.
I would ask for an offer of proof and whether or not this is going beyond the scope of the direct testimony.
The offer of proof has, and just a follow-up to what was previously discussed, as in Mr. Ishibashi's position in the Office of Mauna Kea Management, and also with his understanding of cultural practices on Mauna Kea.
So this is B02I,
Yes,
and this is called the monitoring report?
yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm going to bring up a copy for Mr. Ishibashi to see. We're going to reference this. So just to give a background in regard to this particular document, this was prepared by Genevieve Glennon and Robert Rechtman, October 2013, and it was the Archaeological Monitoring Report for the geotechnical boring for the proposed 30-meter telescope in astronomy precinct of Mauna Kea.
Before we continue here, Mr. Flores, how much more do you have?
Actually, I just have a few more questions to follow up with following
Okay.
this.
All right. Well, and then you'll be done. I'm asking because I think there are other witnesses who might be more qualified than this one to answer some of the questions that you've been positing. And if this witness is going to be taken down that road, it's quite possible the other witnesses may not be necessary. So,
Right. And I understand that, but partly is to determining whether this witness should be impeached based upon his extreme bias as an employee of Mauna Kea Management.
I think I've given a lot of latitude in that regard. Mr. Louis Kwan?
I don't believe this witness has prepared this document, and I don't believe Ms. Flores has laid a foundation.
I think he's about to do that. I interrupted him. I apologize.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Flores.
So in your position at this time, and I believe you would be in a position as the senior advisor, because this took place in October 2000, based upon the previous testimony, my understanding that you were in a position as senior advisor for the Office of Mauna Kea Management when these events took place. Were you present at the proposed TMT site when the geotechnical testing was being conducted?
Yes, the drilling, yes.
And what was your role there at that time?
Monitoring the progress of the geotech drilling.
Okay. And while you were there monitoring, did you witness and bulldoze equipment used to cut and grade and fill the road down to the proposed TMT site?
During the yes.
And when you were there monitoring, did you witness the cutting of a new loop road at the proposed TMT site?
Yes.
And what type of equipment was used in that construction? Was a bulldozer used in that type of construction there?
Yes.
And there was also a drilling rig there that was used to do the boring. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Who was the contractor operating the bulldozers?
I believe it was Ishimoto.
Okay. And do you know who the contractors were that were involved with the drilling?
The drilling, I forgot the name.
Okay, that's fine. Were there any other Office of Mauna Kea Management staff there present during this period of time while you were monitoring?
Not the whole site, but they had our invasive species monitored in and out, monitoring traps and monitoring invasive species.
Okay, and so you were the primary Office of Mountain Care Management staff member there
Yes.
for the whole duration?
From the start to the finish of the geotech drilling, yes.
And this is, once again, this is the report from the on-site archaeologists monitoring this geotechnical testing. In the highlighted section that I gave to you, it states, there are a few instances of new construction find spots and modern items placed in the work area. Is that correct?
Yes.
And did you see those items?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think you may have missed a word.
Excuse me.
Modern cultural items?
Sorry. Let me reread that. There are a few instances of new construction, find spots, and modern cultural items placed in the work area. And did you see those items that's being referred to in this paragraph?
Yeah, one of them.
So these included, as the sentence goes on, these included the erection of 2 small upright boulders and the placement of the tea leaf bracelet at the northern outlying boundary of the TMT Observatory Development Area, Figure 13. Is that correct?
Yes.
So you said you saw 1 or 2 upright stones?
What was one upright?
Okay, and then as noted, so there was also a tea leaf or other things connected with that stone. Is that correct?
They had tea leaves.
So based upon your understanding, then that particular stone might be associated with a cultural practitioner.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, in the last sentence of that paragraph, it states, the 2 upright stones were later dislodged by OMKM staff. Is that correct?
That's the one I probably took down. But it was only 1 stone sticking up.
Okay. So is it correct to say that the OMKM staff they're referring to in this document is you, Mr. Wale Ishibashi?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. There's a few closing up questions.
May I
Your Honor?
clarify that, because I don't want to misunderstand anything myself. Mr. Ishibashi's testimony is that he saw 1 upright stone. He believes he took that down. This section you're referring to refers to 2 uprights. By his last answer, I don't think he was acknowledging he saw 2 uprights and took them both down. Is that your understanding as well, Mr. Flores?
I asked Mr. Ishibashi. So it's already acknowledged that you at least took 1 upright stone down. Is that correct?
Yes.
May there have been 2 upright stones at that time?
No.
Did you take down stones? So the time you took down that particular stone, was it during this time of when you were monitoring this site?
Yes, was that geotech drilling time frame.
Okay. So if you look in the picture, do you recall which of these 2 stones that you knocked down in Figure 13? There's like a big, darker black one that's about almost centered, right center. And you can see in the picture to the left, there's another smaller stone, looks like with a tea leaf or other foliage around it.
No, it was just 1.
So which
Just
one do you recall?
I think it's the big one.
The big black one is
Yeah.
the one you took down? And when you say took down, what do you mean took down? And what did you do with it?
Just put it, lay them down.
Okay. So at the time you did this, did you fill out a report to the Office of Mauna Kea Management that you found this particular stone?
It was probably, this is the report.
As an employee, do you do your own reporting to the Office of Mauna Kea Management?
Just let them know, yes. Let Stephanie know.
So did you let Stephanie Nagata, your supervisor, know that you took down a stone at this particular site?
Yes.
And was it a written report?
No.
Then it was a verbal?
Yes.
So is it correct that the rangers have to do a written report of everything that's found and noted? I mean, going back to the rangers of Mauna Kea Rangers, is it correct to say that the Mauna Kea Rangers have to take a written detailed report of everything that they find, locate, and incidents they have on Mauna Kea?
Yes.
But
I believe they do.
Okay. So in your position as senior advisor, you're not required to do a written report of things that you find or incidents that that happen on Mauna Kea. Is that correct?
During the project time frame, it's up to the project. We would follow. We have these reports written to us, our office.
But for you personally, do you
No.
do any reporting, written reports
No.
of what's happening on Mauna Kea?
No.
Have you dislodged or removed or knocked down any other type of shrines on Mauna Kea?
No.
So why did you decide to do it at this particular site?
It was during the project phase that wouldn't pop up during the project, this project, geotech.
Right, but wouldn't it be considered a cultural resource? So wouldn't you have to, if it's a cultural resource as a fine spot, wouldn't you have to notify the State Historic Preservation Division?
Unsure.
Okay. Okay, there's a few closing questions. And thank you for your time, Your Honor, and Mr. Ishibashi, as well as other parties here. So in your written direct testimony on page 1, you make reference to being born and raised in Kilkaha. Is that correct?
Kilkaha, yes.
And you make reference to family roots to Waipio Valley, in Hamakua, and Miloli'i, and South Kona. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you make mention of family connections to Pu'u Poliahu. Is that correct?
Yes.
So when you say Poliahu is in your genealogy, are you referring to an individual, or are you referring to the deity or the goddess Poliahu?
Probably both.
So have you consulted with the goddess Poliahu regarding this TMT project?
Yes, I have. Not Poliahu, but to my Amakuas, yes.
But that was not the question. But did you ever consult with Poliahu?
No.
Okay. And so Poliahu, the goddess and deity of Mauna Kea, do you know if she ever gave permission for the TMT project?
Excuse me, Trey.
So the goddess and deity Poliahu on Mauna Kea, to your knowledge, did she ever give permission for the TMT project?
I think it assumes objection. I assume it assumes a fact, not an evidence here, that Poliahu does give consent to anything.
I'm going to overrule. Please answer.
No.
Okay, thank you. So if a project similar to the TMT, over 18 stories tall, massive in size, was proposed to be built on Pu'u Poliahu, would you still support that project?
Ooh, I would have a hard time on that, but yeah, I'll probably, depending on the permitting process, yeah.
And you allow that to be built on Pu'u Poliahu? And we say, depending on the permitting process, what do you mean by that?
The same process we're going through now.
So if the permit was given, then you would say it's all right to build
Yes.
it on Poliahu?
Yes.
Okay. In the same context, if a project similar to the TMT, over 18 stories tall and massive in size, was proposed to be built in Kilkaha, would you still support that project?
As long as the proper permitting process, yes.
Even if it had impacts upon the community, would you still support that project?
As long as you went through the proper process, yes.